We're live. Welcome to
Yo.
woohoo! This is a new time and date. It is now Friday, July 22nd. And I noticed on the audio stuff, I was listening to the podcast, that we just jump in without doing any kind of intros as to who is where. So if you could just say your name so people can put a voice with a name, then we'll get into it. Neil, we'll start with you.
Hey, Biff G. Neil.
Fucking A. Dave?
Yep, Dave Akers.
There we go. Keenan?
Hey, Keenan here.
Okay, so those are your four voices that you're going to be listening to. I don't think we have anyone else coming on today. And then I'm seeing a couple folks in the chat, Algernon and Renz and 619. Yeah, the hair is going to be a big thing, apparently. So I'm 44 years old. This is probably the 9,000th time I've cut my hair. So while it may be new to the people in Helium who I've only known for a year and a half, this is how I've looked most of my life.
You just need to dye it green now.
Maybe I should.
Green or purple or pink.
We could do something for the Helium House thing for New York. Because we could all go blue or something. Yeah. All right, Dave, let's kick it off. What's going on with the network? We missed you on Monday with the analytics stuff. You run heliumanalytics.io. What's the latest?
Yeah, well, the latest is about 20 minutes ago, I realised that it was today and not Monday. So I've been having a look. As you may know, we've been getting the website back up to date, the ETL's back up and running. So we've been modifying some of the queries after light hotspots to get the stats back up and running. I've employed my son to give me a hand, and he's been doing a great job. And we've been looking at getting some longer term reports out as well. As for what's been going on, the last week rewards have been down, so that we've been looking at around 45,000 HNT per day being minted rather than the normal 50,000. I see a lot of screaming about people earning less than average and whatnot, but it is what it is. It will go back up again. I think one of the biggest takeaways at the moment is that since the beginning of July, this H3 DEX targeting issue has got people a little bit upset. There are some hotspots beaconing 30, 40 times a day, which it's not great. It has to be said, but we do have to remember that when we look at it, it's maybe only 20 hotspots that are beaconing out of the ordinary out of the 600,000 that are online. So that the overall effect to people is negligible, really. So yes, it's not ideal. Yes, something needs to be done about it. But at the end of the day, it's not going to affect your rewards significantly unless you happen to be the lucky person that's getting 30 beacons per day. So yeah, I think things again in terms of how many people are beaconing, that's still reasonably stable. Around 230,000 people beaconing every day. Put some stats together now that we've got the ETL back in terms of how many beacons are sent per day, as well as how many hotspots are beaconing per day, and similarly on the witness side. So they're being tweeted out regularly now. So yeah, I think things are just rolling on at the moment. We're looking for the next big update for when we get an infinite number of beacons and everybody smiles until they realise that actually it's changed their rewards. Not at all.
Yeah. No, good. It's good. It's good to hear it's generally kind of stable, progressing in the right direction. Slower than everybody wants, and it's going to be less than everybody wants to earn. But from what you're saying, I don't hear anything that is alarming.
No, this issue with targeting is alarming, but only from the sense that there's clearly an issue with the code.
Okay.
But it affects so few hotspots that it's not that alarming. People will create a big fuss about it, and I guess that the team are working on it, but it may be not high priority because it's really not affecting everybody overall.
Okay, cool.
From what I understand, it's actually being patched in the next validated release, so we're just waiting on that, as far as I understand, for the targeting bug.
Yeah, let's see if it works.
Rad. And then Keenan told us he was going to do an in-depth, detailed presentation on all of the nitty-gritty of HIP 51 and 52. or
Well,
53.
I have to go.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hold on.
I got a meeting that I forgot about.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
no,
those details, though.
we had shifted this so that the Helium Foundation and Nova folks could have more time to come on here and tell us about what's new or what's going on. And Keenan, I was giving you a hard time about the 5153. That was an inside joke between me and Keenan. He's like, dude, if you ask me that, I'm going to kill you. I was like, oh, let's see what happens. Keenan, you recently came on as a community moderator or community manager.
Community manager, yeah.
Yep. And that was in the last, I don't know, month or two. Like, that's not super new news.
Right.
But now that you are part of Helium Foundation officially, can you kind of talk me through what you've been doing and what you guys are seeing and maybe where you want to take the community or guide the community to go?
Yeah, so I think I've been doing this for, I want to say about 2 months now.
Yeah.
That may be incorrect. It feels like a long or short 2 months, depending on how you look at it. But
Yep.
so first of all, there's 4 of us. So there's myself, Angry Bird. Sorry, not Angry Bird. Oh my
Angry
God.
Bear.
Angry Bear. Sorry, Angry Bear. Dumpling Girl and Waveform. We all started on, and essentially how I first looked at it was community manager was, and Angry Bear kind of coined this term of moderator plus plus. Basically, as a moderator, we were just basically moderating the Discord, Reddit, things like that.
Yeah.
Telegram, when Telegram used to be a thing.
Yep.
Now we're still doing that, but the community is our primary focus. So we're doing more official things now. So we're creating a little bit more, I don't want to say this, more policies and procedures and kind of trying to bring some professionalism to the Discord.
Yeah.
Trying to reach out to the community and actually find out what's happening with the community, what their thoughts are week to week.
Yep.
I know the Helium community, a lot changes very quickly. If you're gone from the Discord for a day or two, you come back, many things have changed.
Yep.
So our goal is to reach out to those people and find out what they're thinking. Basically, we go through the community and we look for issues. We look for people that have issues, and we try and solve that.
Nice.
So not specifically ourselves, but we can go out and say, hey, Nick, what have you thought about the network in the last week? And you can be like, oh, man, I'm pissed off about this targeting issue.
Yeah.
So we can bring that back. We're the bridge between the community and the devs and Nova.
Yep.
So we can go back to them and be like, okay, this is what the community has been saying. They're frustrated that they don't know why this is happening.
Yep.
They don't know why these 20 hotspots are beaconing 30 times a day. Can you address that? And that's where we can set up some AMAs. So we tend to organize those and say, okay, we're setting up an AMA regarding hit 52 and 53. These are the questions. We create a form.
Yep.
Where people can fill out their questions. We pass that on to the devs, and then they can answer it. And then beyond that, we're doing a lot of, I don't want to say random, that's not the right word, but we've kind of been given a free pass to go into the community and say, look for problems and solve them. So whereas Angry Bear is doing a lot more of the technical stuff, he's been really into 52 and 53, as you can see. Not me. I will fully admit that
it's not your game.
52 and 53, I felt a lot more disconnected, just like a lot of the community has as well.
Sure.
There's a lot of mathematical formulas and stuff that throw me off, all treasury things. I get it. So Angry Bear has been the one who's kind of been leading that charge and kind of doing the announcements for 52, 53. Whereas myself, I've been more on the documentation side or community side. Waveform has been going through and updating a lot of our docs. So a good example was, I think in the docs, discovery mode was still mentioned as like a solution for some sort of issue. So Waveform went in, cleaned that all up, removed it. Another one was hotspots referenced as challenging still. We're going in and cleaning that up.
Yeah.
So it's basically just kind of a catch-all. And yeah, I mean, our new thing is community sentiment from the week,
Yep.
and kind of just passing that along to Nova. Um, I do believe that there is a bit of a disconnect between the community foundation and the admins and devs from Nova. So we're
Sure.
trying to bridge that a little bit. The devs are obviously busy doing their stuff. They're on Discord for sure.
Yep.
They chime in once in a while, but they're busy working. We're the ones who are absorbing that information, documenting it, and bringing it to them and saying, okay, this is what the community is saying. This is what they'd like addressed. So that's kind of a high overview of what we do, and then we can kind of just dig into little random projects throughout the day. We have a lot of meetings and random little things that I can't even get into that we just fix throughout the day.
Yeah.
That it's oh, Keenan, you're available. Can you go patch that for us? Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that's rad. I mean, I like seeing that because I know that it's nice to see the Helium Foundation putting resources behind the folks who've been doing a bunch of the work, right? Is that you've been around, Keenan, since, I mean, you were certainly there before I got in. I think Neil and I got in about the same time. Maybe Neil was a little bit earlier. And a lot of us have just done it because it's been fun. But at some point, a fun thing is like, hey, it's taken so much time away from my regular life that I've got to make a decision. And it's super cool to see Helium Foundation like making it easier for you guys to make that decision. So,
well, and quite honestly, I mean, you're right. I did start. I want to say May 2020, just around the time when COVID was starting to become a thing.
To kick, yeah.
And it's been a passion of mine for that many years. I've been on the Discord, or back in the Slack days, I was on it constantly.
Yeah.
And same goes for the other 3 community managers. We've just invested so much time,
Yeah.
and it's a labor of love. And then it's nice that now we can actually dedicate full time all day to actually improving the network and having some resources behind us to actually be able to make these changes.
Yeah.
Because we are people from the community.
Yeah, no, it's super cool to see that it's not getting kind of hired to the outside to someone who's maybe like a professional moderator but doesn't know anything about Helium, where there's going to be that re-disconnect there and they're going to have to work through it.
Well, and on that note too, so I was talking to Angry Bear about this. I was like, oh, you know, like I get questions about 52 and 53, and I'm going on State of the Network. They're going to ask me about it, and I don't have those technical details. And it's uncomfortable, but he also explained, he's like, no, you're just like one of the community that's in the same position. So that's a good way to look at it is I'm looking for answers for myself as well, not being a technical person, not fully understanding these mathematical formulas. So I bring that back to the devs and say, okay, the announcement you just put out explaining whatever it may be in this super technical language
is intelligible to a Stanford engineer, not to the rest of us. Yeah.
I don't understand it. They're not going to understand it.
Yep. Love it. And the word on the street, on the Twitter street, is that Helium is hiring a marketing director. So maybe there'll be someone coming in who kind of shapes that policy a little bit more.
There's a few positions open. So I think it's helium.com/
probably jobs or something, or
jobs, I think it is. Yeah, check that out.
Yep. And then you got some fans, Keenan. You got both you and your feet both have fans on Discord and Helium World.
That will never die, and whatever. I'm into it.
Yeah. Cool. Super cool. It's good to see. I'm psyched on it. We got a bunch of stuff that kind of popped up between Monday and today, which was interesting because it seems like some weeks it's pretty dead, or it's a single issue week. But right now we've got the vote going on for, I always get them confused, 51, maybe it's 52, 53. But
52,
for the
53.
Yep. And that is helium.vote. And I think I've put all of the stuff that I'm going to talk about into the description on this video so that you should be able to just kind of cruise down and see all that stuff. So you can go and vote now for this thing. I think I voted on, not Friday, Thursday or Wednesday, and I saw 430 people had voted one way, or maybe 430 people had voted, or, and 600 for another one. It was just like, man, there's 800,000 hotspots in the network. There's probably 100,000 owners. Yeah. You guys want change? Fucking vote. God damn.
Oh, damn.
Glad job.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't have that swear jar thing because I'd be penniless. But yeah, just...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Neil.
I was just going to say the most important thing is a lot of people don't feel like their votes are being counted, but the most important thing to do is vote either way, yes or no. Just make sure you vote because, when we look back at previous votes, there's not a single metric that didn't mean that the vote would have passed. There's not like, maybe there's a group with 10 HNT in their wallet that don't agree with this, and this is quite a large number. There was none of that in the previous vote. So is that because it didn't exist, or is it because not enough people voted when they thought, it's definitely going to go one way, so there's no point me voting? So it's really, really important to vote either way.
Yeah, and let's clear up a couple little myths about voting. The voting cost is, what is it? Is it 1 DC or something? It's some tiny amount. Like, there's no reason to be like, it's too much to do it.
I'd have to look to see it, yeah.
Yep, pretty straightforward and easy. Go ahead, Keenan.
I think it's like 35 cents or 55 cents or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just one transaction fee, yeah.
Yep, but does the new wallet make it easier? I'm seeing Travis in the chat. And 619 dropped the 619 OTA dropped the link to. I don't think it's heliumvote.com though. I think it's helium.vote.
No, it's heliumvote.com.
Is it heliumvote.com? Oh, well, thank you. Thank God someone's paying attention here. And then maybe network bits. You guys will be taking a lot of shots. I'm a little feisty today. Okay, so that's the Helium Vote stuff. The mobile tokens are set to go live next week, if I'm reading that right.
Yeah.
And then I think, I'm not sure who told me it, but there's only one high power outdoor radio on the network right now. And those get 4x the mobile token reward. So there's only one 436 on the network. There's a bunch of 430Is, and then there's mostly indoor spots. So Keenan, our hotspot, or our outdoor thing is up and running. It should be getting rewarded at whatever the outdoor rate is. Pretty exciting to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that performs.
Yeah. Yep. Siegfried said the cost is a lot higher. I don't think it's that high, but I think he's talking about voting. I don't think it's that high.
No, it's not.
And Siegfried, if you're talking about something else, then drop it in. Organ donor, great. No more mullet. No, that's totally true. Okay, so we'll see what happens with the mobile tokens. I thought that they dropped already. I was looking at my wallet. I'm like, God, did I break my wallet? What's going on? But they haven't dropped, so there's nothing to worry about yet there.
It was supposed to be yesterday, wasn't it?
That's what I thought, but...
Yeah. 26th
they announced a shift, yeah.
Yep, super cool. And I always forget to shout out the people in the chat, but Jay, I saw that you were in here earlier, so good morning back to you. Jason and Bomber Crypto, Kevin, thanks for coming on and adding to it. And then Falcon Punch looks like he's going to make his first, or her, could be either one, off-grid. Now that the other kind of big news is that the hotspots aren't using a ton of data anymore. We're down to what we expected.
Good. Yeah, it's like 20, 30 mega a day, isn't it, instead of gigs? So that just makes off the grid just work so much better.
Yeah, so, 619 noticed all of his stuff dropped down. It was super cool. Let's see, Falcon Punch. Good.
Mine was resetting itself every 24 hours because only 1 gig of memory, so it was dying every 24 hours. But now it's been stable ever since, so it's good. So all those people with sort of legacy hardware should start to see things improving.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to see. I feel like my last advantage for having a DIY is now gone.
Pretty much.
Which was significant. So that was a fun thing. Let's see. Falcon Punch said, explain like I'm 5. What happens to our existing HNT when IoT mining starts? Does it just stay as HNT and then we'll have whatever our existing... Yeah. So you're going to keep your HNT. That's not going to magically switch. You'll keep that, and then you'll start getting IoT and mobile tokens in there eventually. So you have 3 different tokens in a wallet. So,
or any new ones.
Yeah.
If any new sub DAOs pop up, there'll be a 3rd one or a 4th one.
It'll be like when I used to travel a bunch, and you look in your wallet, and you got like Argentinian pesos, and you got shekels, and you got drachmas, and you're just like, geez, where can I trade all this in? I'm sure there's going to be some kind of trade-in market for it. So yeah. Lots of different stuff. Okay, cool. The next thing that we talked with Keenan stuff is I went to this 5G SIG special interest group that was put on by a local San Diego incubator. I streamed it live. The sound and video were terrible, so it's now kind of unlisted just because it was so bad and people were complaining about it. But I thought as I was watching it and listening to it, that it would be super cool to share it. So maybe there's some other way to get better quality there. Whoops. I managed to break everything, Keenan, just you.
Keep it on that one. I like that one.
Yeah, look at that. Which it is the feet. But I mean, there was people there who had not invented the internet, but were from Qualcomm, which is a local company and also a giant company. And they were talking about all the things that are coming down the pipe with the 5G entire spectrum. And so there's guys talking about satellite, about robots, and there was one guy. This was the most interesting thing. There's a giant company called Peregrine Semiconductors. And so in that world, that's an enormous company. The former CEO of that was on this panel that was speaking. He lives here in San Diego, and he, at the very beginning, as he's introducing himself, he's saying, hey, we got this fancy new 5G and super high speeds. I've got a farm here in San Diego, and I can't connect any sensors to anything else. And so as soon as it was over, I walked up and was like, oh, where's your farm? Can I come out and put a Helium hotspot on it? So me and Brian and Jason from Parley Labs are heading out there next Friday to go check that out and introduce this guy to Helium. So pretty cool to see that kind of stuff.
They just don't know about it at all. That's the thing. Like, as soon as you turn them onto it, and they realize what this network can do, they're blown away by it. But it's just the education thing is huge. Just getting it out there and getting these use case videos done. Like, we've just got 30 digital matter oysters to go into a fleet of vehicles. But you bet your bottom dollar, the first thing I'm doing is making sure this is all filmed and all over YouTube so people can watch it and see that they can do this, so they know to use it in other industries. Because it's great that we talk about it, but we're talking in a very small community of people that already know about it. We need others to come in to see it, and that's just by using it and getting those businesses in, right? Yeah,
and ideally we need some kind of big dogs to, hopefully like this guy or someone else, where their reach is way more than just kind of one at a time, and it's just going to be talking to everybody about what you're doing. But it was surprising. There was another company there called Jackrabbit. They do little bikes that don't have pedals, little electric bikes. And I said, how are you tracking them? They're like, we don't know. We've been looking around. And again, it's like, well, have you heard of this thing called Helium? And so I think it's just having those conversations. And the takeaway there for me was, number one, like a giant thanks to Brian at Parley Labs for telling me about that meeting and sending me an invite. And then also for you watching or listening to this, is look for stuff in your town. Don't be afraid to go to it where they're talking about 5G, where they're talking about technology, about anything related to Helium. They could be talking about Wi-Fi, about CBRS, about IoT, whatever. Show up at those things and talk to people. And that's how we as a community and a group are going to get all of this stuff out there. It's not going to come from us talking to each other anymore.
There was a gentleman, I think about a year ago, who was actually going to his town council and talking to them about providing some solutions from Helium and deploying some hotspots with some sensors. So, I mean, that's it, basically. Just go and talk to people. And that's where these events are really great, because you hear, I've got this problem. I've got a solution for you. And that's what we need to do. And then just get that word out there, and then people's minds are blown. They just don't, like Neil said, they don't know it exists. I think people think it stops at cellular and Wi-Fi. But there's perfect solution of LoRaWAN that we need to just start getting out. And again, I know Neil likes to push sensors. That's exactly what we want, right? Get out there. Our network is pretty darn big now. Get out there and just throw some sensors out there. Talk to people about them.
I think there's a nice segue there to the foundation's contest that they've just launched for $2,500 prize for coming up with sensors for environmental and conservation use. So
is that the same thing as the Hackster link that we have, or is that's totally different?
I think that's possibly different. It came out yesterday, I think.
Okay.
On Twitter.
I might have missed it.
A tweet from the foundation yesterday, calling all IoT and AI builders. Yeah.
Rad. Okay.
Into the IoT into the wild.
Yeah, that's from Seed, isn't it? They're putting a prize up for environmental.
That might be the IoT in the wild. Maybe it's the same thing. There's definitely a link in the description here to one of those, and I thought it was 14,500 total in prizes, including I thought I saw airfare out to New York City for the Helium House thing, some sensor stuff. It was a pretty big deal.
Oh yeah,
big enough deal to pay attention. Yeah. I saw the question of the chat from Nikes. What was the motivation to increase rewards for outdoor radios? Why were indoors not taken into account at all? Keenan, I can punt that to you because that's kind of a community question. Although I'd love a crack at answering it. What do you want to? What order do you want to take this in?
Well, it's not. As far as I know, it's not about increased rewards. It's just the distribution of them during the Genesis period. And the reasoning being was the outdoors are just providing so much more coverage that, as far as I know, it was just more fair to reward that extra coverage. And again, it's just the Genesis period. Then everything changes after the treasury is all set up.
Yep. And I'll take another crack at that. So the second part of that question, Nikes, you just got to be careful how you ask these questions because you're saying why were indoors not taken into account at all, dude or girl, whatever. Like 100%, they're taken into account. Here's what I found with formerly Helium, now the Nova team, is that you may not understand their decisions, and they may seem dumb to you, but that is not staffed by dumb people. Those are some of the smartest people I've come across in my 44 years on the planet. Doesn't mean they're, perfect or they get everything right. But I haven't seen a decision from them where they didn't think it through and they were just like, let's see what happens, right? They're totally thinking this stuff through, and the same kind of thing goes for the foundation. So just be careful about saying like, hey, this wasn't taken into account at all.
And just to be clear, that wasn't a hip change either.
No.
Yeah. And I will say that everything that happens in the foundation is about improving the network and taking community sentiment into account.
Yeah.
We want it to succeed as much as everyone else does. So I don't think there's any reason for us to make any decisions that would cripple ourselves. So just bear that in mind.
And that's me being prickly about that question. I'm sure you didn't mean it exactly that way. I think if we look at this is that, hey, the intent for all of these things, if we always zoom out and say, like, what's the intent? The intent is to build a functioning network that can be used by a bunch of people, and that's what drives all of the decisions. And so when you look at a decision and say, hey, why was this made? It will almost always be answered by asking that question is like, hey, does this provide more coverage and more utility to the network? And if it does, that's usually the reason for the decision. Let's see. Crystal's so frustrated with earnings in the last few months, pulled his hair out. Nope, I cut it off. Like I said, I've lived this way for a long part of my life. So this is normal for me. The funny thing about the mullet is I only had that for about a year and a half. And I think I've got more compliments on that haircut than any other haircut I've had. But most of the time I walk around with this.
It's the only haircut we've known you with. So
yeah.
You always look like that in my mind. You grew up with a mullet in my mind.
Yeah.
That's canon to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And then I think the other thing Nikes in the chat I'm seeing is that outdoor is more expensive. I'd guess that's probably it. The indoor units were what, $700? The outdoor unit, Keenan, that you got a smoking deal on was it $1,500 or $1,200 at the Helium House?
I think it was $1,500 US. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and normally they're like $2,500, and then the 436Is are they $10K or something? Like they're not cheap radios. So. My guess is that went into it.
And as far as I know,
it's got to be about.
If you come to Helium House, New York, I think they're going to, as far as I know, don't quote me on this, but I think they're going to be running some deals as well. So if you want to grab some 5G equipment, come to Helium House, New York.
Cool. Right on. Well, and we've been looking at a bunch of different houses, huh, Neil?
Yeah. Well, if I get to go to this one, it would be nice to get a loft and have somewhere for state of the network or whatever we do there. So,
yeah.
Get a big pad. It'd be lovely.
Yeah.
I would have joined you, but I booked up last week before. Wife and son are coming as well, so you don't want them hanging around.
Nah.
Yeah. Oh, organ donor coming at me. So she is glad as it's gone because the mullet is dispersuasive.
That's a bit rough. Shallow,
Let's see.
Isn't it?
Can HNT use an existing product that can be installed on truck drivers' cabs? Yeah, there's the original Oyster can probably do it if you're looking for tracking. And when you're saying HNT, you probably mean Helium. But yeah, you can use an Oyster. You can talk to Neil about that. There's Lone Star Tracking in the U.S. does that. There's a bunch of different products for that. But Neil, you just got these Oysters in, right? And are they Oyster 3s?
Yeah, they're Oyster 3s, yeah. They're lovely. They're lovely for the job. They're just so industrial and just perfect case that hardly drains any battery.
Yeah.
So you can just whack them anywhere in a truck. But yeah, for the trucking industry, he probably wants to access the ODB port and get the car readouts and things like that, so you can go further and integrate the whole thing with them in Helium, really. So.
Yep. And you've got some cool stuff with the tracking side. I know I'm seeing a bunch of different stuff on just the display side, and I think we're going to see in the second half of this year an explosion of dashboards for all these sensors, and that's pretty exciting to see.
It's what we need. It's what we need. It's the making this easy for people. No one expects you to host a website by signing up to Amazon. You just go to a company that does it for you and just makes it nice and easy. So these services need to exist for this network to do well. So welcome competition. I welcome everybody, and I'll help anybody to get going on this. It's just what this network needs right now. Openness and collaboration to make this thing bigger than it is.
Yep. Falcon Punch is asking, do I need to shell out $1,500 for a mainnet ticket, or are there separate tickets just for Helium House? Keenan, you want to take that? Look at that head shake.
So it's completely separate. You don't need to buy a mainnet ticket, and basically you just register. So a registration page will be coming, I think, possibly next week. We'll see. We're still trying to get the dates, so nothing's concrete yet. But when it is, there'll be a registration page. You go on, type in your info, you get a digital ticket. Doesn't cost anything, and you're good to go. So it's a free event.
Cool. Super cool. Let's see. Was there anything else in there? Max coming in hot with Helium getting too corporate. Well, just to be clear, Max, neither Neil nor I work for Helium or Nova or anything other than ourselves. So I don't know.
We didn't independently do this at the same time. It was just happened.
Yeah.
We didn't plan it. So.
No, it just got hot here. Just like I must have done the same in the UK, and I was like, I'm done with this thing. This mop is gone.
It's more that I've been in a coding dungeon for so long. I looked up and went, damn, I need a haircut. So
yeah. No, totally. When Panther on board, I think with this MCC thing, I'm probably no comment on that, but I would just say that both parties are working toward that. That's probably the best way to do that, to hit that. And there are some snags. Bobby, I see you on here. So cool. What else have you guys seen? I thought we got a couple HIP call outs. So there's this HIP 65 and 66 are two ones that I've been involved in. And really the point here was not to call out specific HIPs, but to say, hey, if you want to change in the network, either contribute to a HIP or write a HIP. Like that's how this thing works. It doesn't work by hoping someone else does the work that you want them to do. Number one, because no one can read your mind. And number two, because there's just a lot of work to be done and someone's got to do it.
I guess.
Yeah, there's a good channel.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, don't be afraid to start a HIP if you've got an idea, because there are plenty of people that will help you develop it and make it real.
Yep. And I'll also say, don't be afraid to fail on a HIP. Is that we've seen recently people start HIPs and then realize as you think through it, like, oh, this can't solve the problem. Like there's a reason that this problem hasn't been solved yet. And I don't think of that as a mark of shame or failure at all. It's just like, yeah, we are all understanding this thing as fast as we can. And it's totally fine to write a HIP and then realize halfway or three quarters or at the end, like, oh, this, the way I understood this was wrong and this HIP won't work. And it's probably more important to do that, because if you have that misunderstanding, it's very likely that most of the network also has that misunderstanding.
Yeah, there was a guy just a couple of weeks ago who had some ideas about wanting to change some stuff. And we said, yeah, go write a HIP. And he did. He talked to the community about it, and it turned out that the HIP didn't really essentially work, but mad respect to him for actually going through and doing the process. And he wrote the HIP out. He discussed it with the community and then accepted that it was not going to work and moved on.
That's super cool to see.
That's fantastic. Even though it didn't work out, he still put the effort in. And I'll just say, if you have an idea for something that you want to change, in the Discord, go to hashtag HIP-general. Talk about it. Propose your idea in there, bounce it off some people. And yeah, if it's a good idea, guarantee people are going to jump in and help you out and help you fill out that form.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, no, super, super cool. Let's see. Organ donor, going back to this trucking thing, maybe it's worth doing a whole thing on tracking in the US and seeing just how much of the US is covered. Because you're saying gotta be great for the Helium network to have a device that could provide network coverage on top of trucks, but for now I know the device can't move and must be stable without movement. I don't think your understanding is correct. So there's two things. You can have a tracking unit on the truck to track it. You could also run a data-only hotspot. I don't think you could just, assert it wherever you wanted, because they don't really count towards to scale or anything. Run a data-only hotspot with a cell backhaul, and that thing will provide coverage wherever you go. Now, that's not exactly what that thing is supposed to be for, but that's certainly a way to do it. Because that's how I was running it with the paragliding competition, is that I had a data-only hotspot hooked up to a battery and a cell modem. And the idea was that if someone went down, we could throw that package into the helicopter. And that package was maybe, I don't know, as big as my head. It's maybe slightly smaller. And then you could fly around and you're providing a bubble of coverage around the helicopter, and that'll pick up whatever ping's coming off the tracker. Like, it's not perfect, but you can certainly do that right now. So cool.
I was trying to think of a use case for a hotspot on a van then, but I couldn't think of one. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
I guess it's more of an emergency situation rather than a regular situation, isn't it? Because if you had a hotspot on a van, you're using some sort of mobile coverage, and if you're just serving one sensor, then you might as well have one sensor served on the mobile, and skip the Helium. The idea with Helium is that you're missing out on the expense of the SIM card, basically, isn't it?
Maybe if it was like a production truck or something full of lighting and gear, they could instantly pop up and have coverage wherever it's being deployed at a festival or something.
Yeah,
that would make a hell of a lot of sense, so they could have management of assets on site and tracking of information. But yeah, generally they'll just want to be using sensors, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I was thinking of it for like research kind of scientists as they're going out and tracking wolves or whatever. Is like wherever they go, they're having this bubble of coverage around them. But it's like, hey, here's 4 guys on YouTube, and in 2 minutes we come up with 2 ideas that are like, hey, they're not fully fleshed out and developed, but that is...
There's a business there.
Yeah.
There's a business there. Someone will go and do it,
Totally. Yeah, you think that's interesting to think about festivals and saying like, okay, I'll put a tracker on every speaker, on every piece of whatever, and run a data-only hotspot on the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
exactly. It just makes so much sense.
One of the things I looked at when I first got interested in Helium was a similar thing for scout camps. So you put trackers on all the scouts, so you don't lose any. I don't know how big a problem it is, but if you go out in the wild somewhere, you set up a mobile hotspot, then yeah, you can track people with it if you're out on exercise, I guess.
Yeah. There's so many different things that you can do with this stuff. A lot of it is just taking the time to think of it, and you can't read the fuzzy writing on my board back there. But one of the things is just like, hey, take some time every week to think strategically or to think like bigger picture and really expand out the way that you think about stuff. Because a lot of us spend so much time kind of solving the problem that is right in front of our face and forget to say like, okay, let me just daydream a little bit about all the different ways that all these different projects, not just Helium, but Mapmetrics or WeatherXM or GeoNet or Pollen or whatever. Like, how do I use all of them? How do I understand all of them?
And just a quick note to plug the grant program too. If you got a solid idea and you need some assistance with it, there's a grant program. So hop on to the Discord again, go to Foundation, and tell us about it. Tell us about your idea.
Hands up, who's had a grant? Oh, who's applied for a grant?
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's all of us, right? It's. I think it's the same kind of thing. Let's talk about the general process for both grants and HIPs. Is there's a little bit of misconception that you only get a HIP if you're some like super technical person. Is a lot of times just start talking about it. Just start talking about your idea. I think the biggest danger to this network is people think that they have to keep their ideas to themselves and they don't share them out. Because as soon as we start sharing ideas, you see problems with it. You see how it can be better or worse. I like how you're zooming in there, Neil. That's awesome.
No. I'm literally just sinking in this chair. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you just start talking about it, and then either you or someone else will be able to write the HIP. But I know that a lot of them go through on GitHub, or not. That's how they go through, and GitHub can be a little bit intimidating to those of us who haven't used it before. But just ask for help. I saw Hacking This and That in the chat had said anyone that needs help with that, reach out to him and with any of this stuff. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of good ideas don't go through because people are just not asking for help and collaboration. Where maybe they don't have the technical ability, someone does. The two of them get together, and you got a solid project, right? So just put it out there, talk to people. That's what we're here for. That's what the Discord's for. Connect with others, and your idea can become reality for sure.
Yeah. 619 one sticker size trackers. There's one called the NAT. You can find it on Tindy. GNS. I think it's the GNAT. It's tiny. It's the size of my pinky nail. So they're out there. Just gotta find it.
Yeah, there's that new nanotech one as well, which is a label to stick on a box as well, isn't it? That was shown at ATX. So can't wait to see that. Yeah,
everything's just gonna get smaller and better. Reed, Neil's app is killing it. Right on, Neil.
Trying. It's good, and it's a hell of an education piece. Like, I can give people it and they just understand what this network is by walking around and seeing it more than they ever have before, because they know they're taking part, but they feel part of it once they've had a tracker in their hand, and this is just the quickest way. We've had so much support from the community as well. That's, this is me reaching out to the community and distributors and everything. It's like CalChip did us an offer of $39 for a tracker. That's next to nothing to get started with tracking and just understand this thing, but it's also a price where you can afford to get a few of them, or your neighbors can get a few of them, really understand it and go beyond the scope of just other Helium folks buying these things, That's what we need more of.
Yeah, your trackers are awesome. I mean, when I started, I had a couple of those Bro-N tabs myself. And my town only had my hotspots at the time, so I think there's like 5 of them. So the coverage wasn't great. But now that we have this ridiculous amount of coverage, you shared with me some of the coverage that you have from some of your trackers, and it's incredible. Like, it's just perfect coverage in the entire city. So we got to start using it. That's awesome.
London and the UK, I think, is particularly good at the moment. It's just we're not that spaced apart from small towns, so there is coverage in between them. You can drive. Dave's done it himself, haven't you? From where was it, Nottingham to London? Didn't miss a beat, and then took another route home just to get more coverage mapped. It's that good.
But you have to remember we're sort of only 300 or 400 miles long and wide. So if you've got some decent hotspots set up, you're in range of one wherever you go. So it's not like the US where you've got wide expanse of nothing. That's called is that called Kansas?
That is one of the many things. Yes.
But the same rings true around the world as well. Like Portugal as well is exactly the same. We had a user submit 150 km journey and it didn't miss a beat. So right across Portugal for 150 miles and didn't miss a beat is unbelievable. It's time to use this network. Really is. It's here and ready.
Yeah. I'm seeing it.
Irrespective of all the POC issues that people are having, we have to remember that the network is there to serve sensors, and for that, the coverage is there and it is working. For me, the sooner we can get to being rewarded properly for data transfer and less for POC, the better it will be for the network.
Yeah, I'm seeing some chats or some stuff in the chat about just asking for help, and I think there's 2 things there. Is just be a little bit persistent with it. General, I find, can be pretty darn chaotic. I wouldn't go to general for help. I would go there for just kind of general. I go there just to, I don't know, watch people talk shit and then go away and go do something more productive is what I do.
Sensor Dev's my favorite channel. Sensor Dev and Sensor Usage. If you want to use this network, there is people that will help you all timers of the day, and they'll, go right into the nitty gritty of writing code for you, even just to get your thing going.
Is it Jazz doing that?
To see data come on. Yeah, Jazz literally will say, someone will say, "How do I do this?" and he'll just whack a decoder out there for you. Just got it all in his head how it works. So he's just boom, there you go. Try this.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's great.
Let's see. And then Eric Jonas and I have the same problem, is that we have this, in fact, I've got it right here on my desk, and Neil and I have been working on it, this little tab, is I bought this from CalChip, and I can't get it onto TrackPack, and we just haven't spent much time on it. But Eric, maybe you and I kind of figure out with Neil how we get these things onto TrackPack, because that was such a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But that's nothing to do with you, Neil. I know when I talk to the CalChip folks, they're like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry we didn't send this, that, or the other," and it's just.
It's just much easier when we manage it. That's what I really like about what we're doing is, you don't have to know what keys are to use it. And to be fair, it happens, humans get things mixed up and, you're suddenly getting the wrong keys and wondering why your device isn't working. And there's a delay getting back to you to do that. So it gets dragged out and you forget about it, doesn't it? But like with this and TrackPack, you just get the thing, turn it on and it works. And that's what we should have for everything, home air quality or these door things or, smart meter, and there should be apps for it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm picking up some echo now. Are you guys hearing that as well, or is that just me? It just seemed like it started. Tiny bit. Yeah. Okay. Dig it. And Eric, you posted in the GK Discord. Yeah, the GK Discord is good. The Gristle crew is super supportive of each other. I think it's a great place to post in the kind of general there, or definitely in the crew if you're on the inside, because those folks are really good about that. But man, Helium has got so many more people than the Gristle crew has that you're diving into a wider pool of talent. So if you're on the crew, definitely ask us. But man, tens versus thousands is a different set of brain power.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is shaking with you guys. What's coming up with Helium and you for this next week?
Everyone's just waiting with bated breath to see how much these earnings from 5G are going to be, aren't they? Because they just don't quite understand it's not a one-to-one trade, So they're like, "Oh, what's happening here?"
I certainly hope it isn't.
No, obviously it's not. Like we all know that, but it's just a lot of speculation going around about them at the moment, isn't it? That's what feels like the biggest news, that 5G is going to start paying out next week, and everyone's not quite sure. There've been a few clickbaity videos already. $36 a day. What? It's going to be a fun time to see how it launches and everything goes live. And
clickbait videos, huh? That's so weird.
Forget they've changed the chain to accept multiple coins now. Like that's a huge change to the network, and it's such an amazing time that it's all going to be switched on, but everyone's straight away like, oh, I wonder how much I'm going to earn. Not, we're providing 5G coverage. This thing that we've been talking about for a long time is going live. And Cap hinted the other day in Twitter, in their Discord, that there might be an announcement at NYC about one of the partners. So it's just so much hype right now and so exciting. So I think that's all we're going to be talking about for a while.
Yeah. Can somebody tell the price? About all the hype.
Yeah, I haven't paid attention to the price in a while. Siegfried, I'm seeing in the chat, this is the second time you've asked this. Does anyone know if there's another, and this is a Keenan question, if there's another HIP 52, 53 AMA planned now that voting is on? There's been a bunch of questions on Discord, and many people still don't understand key aspects.
I don't know if there's an actual AMA regarding 52 and 53. I think there might be something a little bit more broad. I know there's confusion about, for myself as well, about IoT token and mobile token specifically. So I think there is something coming up that's not 52 and 53 specific. But I know this transitionary period is bringing up a lot of questions in the Discord. Like you just had in your chat, someone saying, okay, what's going to happen to my HNT? Is that going to disappear? And I'm just going to have IoT going forward. So those kind of questions. I think something is planned for next week, but I don't have any official info for you just yet.
Cool. Super cool. It's nice to see that.
That's where we come in, right? Like if people want it, then we'll try and facilitate that. So
yeah.
It's been great. It's been great having the community moderators. As a moderator myself, it's just having someone that you can ask something and they'll go away and do it. We all do this for free in our spare time, just bit here and there, but now we've got dedicated members that are really kicking us in line and getting these things done. It's lovely to see, it's all stuff we needed for a long time. There's a big disconnect between Nova and the people of this network right now, and it's not anything malicious. It's just they're busy, but then trying to explain to someone that even an hour of their time is vital right now, it's hard to get that through. But these AMAs and things give people great sessions just to kind of catch up and feel more involved, I feel. So it's great to see that they're happening more.
Yeah. No, super cool. Brian Mills, anyone having issues with Cheyenne not displaying historical temps of the Dragino LHT 65s? I don't think I've looked at my LHT 65s in a while. But is it Cheyenne? No, it's not. It's Cayenne. I think it is.
Cayenne, yeah.
I was like, I freaked me out. I was like, man, is that something new I haven't heard of? So I haven't seen that, but I haven't paid attention to that. And then good.
Sorry. I was just going to say, there's a guy going back in the chat that said he bought some Browmans and he wants to use it with TrackPack. If you bought it externally from TrackPack, then we need to onboard it for you. So just get in touch and I'll help you do that.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, maybe, Neil, we have you come on to the Gristle Crew. I think next Tuesday we've got Manos from WeatherXM coming on to talk about his project. Nice. So super excited about that. But maybe the Tuesday after maybe come on. What's that?
I want one of those so bad. Those are WeatherXM. It's just hyper-local weather would be really nice to me because I always worry about, like, is it too hot to take the dog out?
Yeah.
But you can look on your phone and it says 30-something degrees, and then you can go out and stand on the pavement in the shade and think, this is nowhere near this. So would it be all right? So having that local weather station would be so much fun.
Yeah. I've got mine right back there. And it's funny. I look at it in the mornings. I'm like, oh, cool. It got down to whatever 64.6 last night, and it gives me an idea of like what the hotness of the house is going to be today because we don't have any AC or anything. It's all California doesn't do like heating or cooling. At least Southern California, we just hope.
It goes back to that whole thing. Like having that data is so much fun to do. Like look at what Dave's done with Helium Analytics. He's studying data all day, but it's so much fun to produce these reports and actually have this information to go and do something with it, and not just guessing. It's nice to have it all out there and something to play with.
Yeah, you can't beat data.
Yeah, and
these side projects using Helium as well. And I mean, again, going back to Helium House, Demo was there, Hive Mapper was there. It's cool to talk to them. So hopefully at the next one, WeatherXM shows up and you can actually talk to the guys directly. And I think that like all these projects are super, super cool. And hopefully Neil, hopefully TrackPack is represented there a little bit as well. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, we've applied to be there and everything, so displaying that. So
yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, and I think, what my hope is, and is that the Helium Foundation starts to support more of the community with grants and making it easier for folks like Neil and Dave to get over here, so that they're not coming out of pocket, or the people who are contributing to the network really heavily are not doing it for free anymore. I think we came through that piece, and that was super fun to do. But at this point, it's like, hey, all of these little businesses that started up now need a little bit more help. So it's going to be exciting to see like how that shakes out at Helium House, New York City, and then whatever it is, 6 months later, and how the whole ecosystem develops. It's super cool.
Well, and a big part of us and our position at Helium House was I was going around talking to a ton of people and just hearing their ideas as well, right? And then if I hear a great idea, I connect them with the people over at the grants.
Yeah.
And say, you know what, maybe that's a great idea. You should talk to this person over here at Foundation to see if you can get something going, because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We get some proposals too about like, okay, well, I want to deploy 20 hotspots in this area. It's like, well, no, that's on you deploying the hotspots. We're talking about doing the sensor work. Like, you got to have a use case. So just bear that in mind. But we're absolutely looking forward to all your ideas come through. We want to help. We want to get this network going.
Yeah, it's super cool. Siegfried's asking this question about the light hotspots and validators. How far along are we? That's a Neil and Dave question because I can just guess. Soon.
Yeah. So he's asking, are the offline hotspots now offline, or is it a validator issue or hotspot issue? It's hard to say, right? There's no data to say, well, I'm a dead miner. I'm going to report in I'm a dead miner. So it's hard to say. It'd be a mix of both. Lost keys, dead hardware. How many Emirates went missing, for example. Things like that. But I don't think it'll be a validator issue.
No, I looked maybe a month or 2 months ago at the data and looked at sort of the last time hotspots participated, and there were probably 75,000 that I would consider dead because they hadn't done anything for 3, 4, 5 months. So that they can be considered expired and probably in AP's shed now. Being refurbished.
Well, is that heliumrecycling.com? Is that his site? I forget what it was.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's it.
Yeah, for dead hotspots. So.
But yeah, and and at the moment there's roughly 600,000 hotspots that are continually active. As I say, my off grid that was going offline, and it was only because I had a remote resetter that I was resetting it every day. If I had to go out to it every day, I wouldn't have bothered. I would have left it until things picked up again. So that there may be some of those out there, some struggling with low memory, and just not being able to keep up with the syncing with the chain. And now that's gone, we may see some start coming back again, assuming that all the vendors have updated accordingly.
I mean, I know. The reason I took all my Nebras and all my Bobcats offline because they're 1 gig of RAM, and I never even installed the Curlinks I bought because I knew that RAM wasn't enough. But I knew with light hotspots that they would make them all right to do. So if I'm doing that, there's a good chance quite a few people are as well.
Yeah.
That they're saying, well, now these are ready because it's not syncing the chain, or little things. I've heard a lot of stories about people having to cancel their 4G contracts because it was just eating too much data.
Yep.
So they might be looking to revisit that kind of thing. We might see more come online, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of companies that are not that are super cheap if you have really low amounts of data. So it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, our data up here in Canada is notoriously expensive, so off-grids really weren't an option at all.
Right.
Now it actually is a possibility, so I expect to see more off-grids popping up here.
Yeah, that'd be
Love to see it.
pretty cool. You guys got enough land. Jeffrey Lim, good to see you. You weren't here in the beginning, but he's asking this question. I think is one of the questions we're going to see a lot of. Is has anyone tested different kinds of industrial trackers and review them to see which are the best ones? That's a business opportunity, man. There's going to be these heliumreview.com or whatever the URL is, where people are testing the different soil and moisture temperatures, the different trackers, the different light sensors, the different everythings, and saying, hey, buy this one. I mean, I've used the Broans, I've used the Oyster 3s, I think I've used something else. I haven't noticed a huge difference in any of them, but we're going to see people who are going to pay way more attention and help you make those decisions. So that's, if the answer is...
I'm trying to try all of them. I am trying to try all of them, but even myself, there's still ones that I'm only just hearing about. So Tech-Telic have got a particularly nice one. Apparently, it's like the Ferrari of trackers. So that's my next trial. But so far I've had perfect coverage with the Oysters, or there's a few out there that aren't that good, but generally, none of them are that bad.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. That's right, Neil. I forgot. There's the differences that you're finding, if I remember correctly, are just the battery life stuff. It's not the actual coverage. The coverage is the same because it's the same kind of antenna.
Well, if you go quite small on the tracker, you will get GPS drift if you're indoors, for example. But then something like the Oyster, it just seems better at handling that. Whether that's just because it's a more expensive, more industrialized, bigger tracker, with a better GPS in it, or what. But depends on the use case. There's a right tracker for everything. At the same time, I remember seeing with these Abuways, indoors for me they're not the best, but outdoors they're perfect. But then I saw the other day Paul at Dis 91, he put one in the plane, so it's going to be fantastic. It would be. There's no need to go with anything else, so it's very dependent on the use case.
Yeah. That's
not
super cool to see. And then I'm seeing
hang an oyster from your dog.
Yeah, they're kind of big, right? You got a big dog. Saad's asking, can you guys elaborate on the possibility to be able to track and to fetch data in faster intervals? I don't know if you're talking about the updates in the hotspot, the gateways, or in the tracker, but you can set the intervals on the tracker to almost anything you want.
Yeah, well, there's a lower limit of how quick it can send the data. And
it's like 5 seconds, 1 second, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So 15 seconds between your tracker and tracker check-in, and you'll be fine. So I don't think it needs to go that much faster.
Yep.
Any faster, you'd just be wearing out the battery like crazy.
Yeah,
it's just not worth it.
Yeah, although you can wire it into power. I mean, if let's say you're putting it on a truck, if we just kind of follow that thought thread down, is you can just wire it into mains power, whatever the truck power is, whatever you call that in technical terms. And then you don't need to worry about the battery. Dave, I see you laughing at me like you're such an idiot.
Something I've considered hardwiring into my wife's car, because she drives a lot more than me at the moment, just don't have to worry about the battery.
Yeah. Sad's saying 60 minutes or 60 seconds in real-time tracking. Yeah, like when I was tracking the paragliders, I think Lone Star had set it to fire every 5 seconds, if I remember right, and that was maybe the original Oyster. And yeah, we didn't have any problems with finding people, even moving 20 miles an hour in a straight line in the air. You can't get that far in 5 seconds.
No.
I think that's pretty real time as well. I mean, would you need something faster than that? Like, you don't need to know second by second, do you? I mean, 5 or 10 is...
He's asking every 3 seconds. I mean, maybe if you're doing... Like, one of the things that we looked at a while ago is on racetracks, is putting this stuff on board cars. But the racing teams that have millions of dollars already have something. I don't think LoRa is the right thing for them. And that goes back to what's the right technology for the job. On the latency side with LoRa, it's not... Like, when you get into kind of critical latency, it's not the right tool.
Yeah, race cars have their own system, and it's highly accurate. So that the GPS or the locating sensors that they've got are like 1 centimeter. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's horses for courses. You wouldn't necessarily use it at a racetrack, unless you were tracking horses.
If I'm wrong, but like the Invoxia, they've got like a lost pet mode, right? Where you click that and then it amps up to like every couple of seconds. So it depends on your use case, and if your dog or cat or whatever gets lost, you can hit that mode and then it's pinging a lot more often.
Yeah.
You just have to be careful that you haven't already had it set for an hour, because when you issue that, it might not fire till the next hour. You can turn them on to find mode, can't you? So yeah,
right.
There's a lot of choices out there.
Dave, there's some catnip for you in the chat. Sod's talking about developing this for locomotives. It's like, fancy
wow.
that. Who do we have on this call?
Yeah.
Because that Dave, that's what you do for your normal life is working with trains.
It is, although I've taken my tracker on a couple of train trips down to London, and they're a perfect Faraday cage. So, and they tend to run in sort of little valleys, so that there's no signal for anything. So it's difficult to run them in the train.
Huh.
On the outside of the train, it might work.
Yeah, you just got to pop up their little gel glue stick thing and put it on. Tech and things. I think it's the last one we'll answer because we're a minute after. Any good guides for 5G setup or products? Funny you should ask. I'm building a 5G course right now, so gristleking.com. But yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of like free ways to do it. And for a basic 5G setup, it's the same skill set that you needed to set up an outdoor LoRa setup. If you can make Ethernet cable and you can plug in Ethernet cable, you are good to go. There are some, I mean, the core stuff is more like the technicalities and some details and making sure you're maxing out coverage and understanding the entire system. But as far as like setting one up to get it to go, dude, if you can build an IKEA cabinet, you can easily do one of these.
Does it include a warm-up for your Ninja roll?
It should, yeah. Maybe I'll make that like lesson 10.2 or something. No, I've been learning a ton setting up these 5G things, just about range and what they can and can't do. It's just so different than LoRa and how we kind of measure it, and both learning on the pollen side and on the helium side, because there's two different kind of parallel tracks in the CBRS world, and it's amazing to be learning on both of them and seeing how both the different projects are doing it. It's super cool to learn that. So. But many good things. All right, folks, is there anything else that you guys want to hit before we sign off?
I don't think so.
Good.
Okay. Ripping. Thanks for coming on, and we will see you probably next Friday, if not sooner. All right, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.